Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for joining me for the Betting Leaderboards recap of UFC 299 out of Miami. This was a 14-fight supercard. Lots of big names, lots of old guard versus new up-and-comer type fights. Most of the fights did not disappoint, and the card delivered overall. I hope everybody got a chance to enjoy it, and if you placed any wagers, I hope they came through for you. Well, we've got plenty of fights to get to. I'm your host, MMAce. Let's get right into it. The first fight of the night was between Joanne Wood and Marina Moroz. What action happened in this fight happened in flurries. There was a lot of control time by Moroz that had very little action attached to it. Moroz could get her down, but then wasn't advancing. Ground and pound was sparing at best. Towards the end of the round, Wood tried to fashion a leg lock, but no go. I had Moroz taking the first and Wood taking the second two. They spent a lot of time in the clinch, but Wood fought valiantly trying to get, whatever strikes in she could. They began to exchange in the second. They did a little more standing and trading in the third, but again, just flurries, kind of like two cats scoping each other out, and then just a jumble of fur. Wood got a spinning back fist knockdown in that was pretty spectacular. This one went the whole way, and in the end, Wood got the split decision victory to send her off into retirement. Retirement was she announced before the fight, which I don't even like retirement talk or thoughts before fights, much less a blatant announcement, but didn't seem to affect her. Have a nice post-career life. The next fight up was between flyweights Asu Almabayev and CJ Vergara. Vergara missed weight, which is the first bad sign. The very first strike of the fight was a leg kick from Asu that completely knocked CJ off his feet, which was the second bad sign. There's a lot of clinching in this one as Alma looked to get CJ to the floor. CJ had some decent takedown defense. But that was all that he was doing. He finally got loose with the left hook. That was nice, but seemed to give him overconfidence. He forgot his defense, and within 2 seconds, he was taken down. So was not a good trade. In the second round, CJ started to land some strikes, all singles, but Almabayev still was able to take him down. He got in head kicks, knee to the face. CJ was good to avoid what he could and get back up when he was down, but spent way too much time on defense. He got some good strikes in, but again, was just too much on the defensive. His offense was just in spots. Unanimous decision, Almabayev. So you want to be a UFC fighter, huh? Check out these knees. Those are going to sting until we have flying cars. Good Lord, this next one. It was between heavyweights Robelis Despain and Josh Parisian. Everyone was excited to see what Despain had to bring. His last 3 fights lasted like 15 seconds total, and the other fight that he had was a first-round knockout, so 4 fights and nothing but absolute domination. Of course, those were all tomato cans, but here he comes with an actual UFC fighter, Josh Parisian, from Escanaba, Michigan, my home state. I like nothing more than the idea of some big Neanderthal snow monster of a human coming down from Escanaba to thump on some people, but that wasn't even close. This fight was pretty easy to call. Despain came right out, slapping Parisian in the side of the head with the right hand. Josh had his hands up to block, but still got rocked about 2 feet off his center. He circled away a bit on the fence. Robelis came in, threw a kick that knocked him off his feet, which, although it looked accidental, was the best strategic move I've ever seen in my life because Parisian lost his mind and came charging at Robelis while he was backing up off balance. Parisian thinking that he had the better of him, and he walked right into the guy's number 1 strength, got blasted in the chin and down on the ground. Easy peasy, Japanesey. B.L.A.B.S got the win and the first performance of the night bonus for an extra $50K. Next fight was between middleweights Michel Pereira and Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. Worcestershire sauce. Worcestershire sauce. I can barely speak anyway, throwing these kind of names at me. First of all, I guess if they're not just fighters and they're truly entertainers, then we got to put up with some of this, but most of this kind of stuff makes me cringe. I don't watch the WWE for a reason. I'm not looking for performance art out of my fighters in the 15-second walk up to the ring. And in this case, to do a pre-fight dance, Pereira left home one of his coaches to bring along, I think, his nephew, who was the guy that learned the dance with him so they could perform it. To me, this is like Deontay Wilder putting on that whole bedazzled spacesuit and then complaining about the weight of it tiring him out as an excuse for losing the fight. Pereira was just nuts. Strong kicks, you could hear the smacks. Then a stomach punch to the liver killed him. Pereira jumped on him, rear naked choke, out. I mean, out. Rubber arm and everything. Easy work for the win. Performance of the night bonus, $50,000. And then how about some breakdancing? Okay, Michelle. Next up, Ian Cutelaba taking on Felipe Lins. The book on Cutelaba seems to be the same. People think he's explosive and very offensive-minded, but can't be trusted to do low IQ things and weak defensive things to get him beat. Lins was on the calf right away, just blistering it with kicks, also winging big shots with the arms. Cutelaba got a couple clean shots in, but not the same impact. Cutelaba's front left leg calf became ridiculous very quickly. I've never seen anything quite like that. Looked like a knotty tree limb or something. Lumps up and down, and even on the ground, Lins was just clowning on him. Cutelaba is definitely a gamer, but he was just beat all over. He has big right hands and a lot of heart. He was screaming out loud with about 16 seconds to go. A little too late, in my opinion, but Lins, unanimous decision, looked tough. Before we move on, can someone humor me? Anyone have any connection to anybody that helps with the octagons? I hate to sound like a broken record, but if you have watched or go back and watch my Brandon Royval recap, you'll see me point out that the edge of the ring, the edge of the octagon, is ridiculous with the divot or the gap that forms between the fence and the canvas. I've seen it over and over, and I'm going to start pointing it out every time I see it from now on. I pointed it out, and then the Moreno situation, the first fight and the last fight, both were affected by it. The first fight, it blew out the guy's knee, I believe. And here we go again. It almost thwarted Lins. He caught his toe in one area and then started falling off to the left along the fence and had his foot compromised again. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that I can't find another word besides ridiculous to describe things. Let me dig out my thesaurus. Let's keep climbing up the card. Pedro Munoz and Kyler Phillips took it from there. Pedro Munoz is tough, but it just looked like they were working with two different toolboxes. Pedro had the little plastic try me out version that you get when you're a kid, and Phillips had the Craftsman cabinet with 20 drawers filled with top of the line items. He was giving him knees, spinning leg kicks to the gut, knees to the head. He was connecting on a high percentage where Munoz was swinging a lot, but missing a lot. And the times when he'd get Phillips down and happen to get on top, he just seemed like he couldn't grapple. He ended up just letting him up basically and getting back to getting his ass kicked standing. Phillips was good with the distance. It seemed like Munoz was just always a step behind, a couple inches out of reach. And it doesn't matter how good your defense is. Phillips throws crazy combos with all different levels and all different weapons. He'll knee you in the abdomen, elbow you in the mouth, and then smack you with a calf kick on the way out. Whatever it is, you're not catching them all, so he's hitting you with something. Meanwhile, you're so busy trying to catch it all that you're not playing your offense like you would normally. Phillips looked really impressive. He was very slick. In the third round, he got a spinning back kick to the head that was wonderful. Very accurate, but he seemed to have no killer instinct. I mean, that might be unfair to say since a lot of the shots could have put Munoz down. But the times when he had him hurt, he didn't seem to have extra urgency to get anything done. Just a quick, steady pace. And part of that's credit to Munoz for being tough. Kyler Phillips, unanimous decision. Next fight up was between lightweights Mateusz Gamrot and Rafael dos Anjos. Every single one of the guys was on Gamrot, and for good reason. He outstruck dos Anjos and he out-control timed him. RDA's punches landed with a lot more impact. But Gamrot's a premier wrestler and put it to work, I guess. I don't think that he does much in the way of trying to advance position or really put someone out with ground and pound. I mean, I respect the ground game, grappling all day long, but look at Khabib. Once he got you down, you could see the steps happen, tie up the legs, get the opponent secured, and then either rain down hammer fists or look for a sub rear naked choke a lot of the time. Or look at like a Nate Diaz who is going to get on top, pepper you with elbows until you're either split wide open or panicking, turning around, giving up your back, and then he chokes you out, and that's that. I have respect for all of that. And I can appreciate Gamrot, too. I appreciate anybody that develops a skill into domination. The issue is, if every fighter fought like him, there wouldn't be a single butt in the crowd. So unless you get fortunate enough to be included on big cards, you're not drawing a crowd and maybe as good as anyone, but diminish your usefulness as far as the UFC is concerned. Unanimous decision, Mateusz Gamrot. The last ladies' fight of the evening was between Caitlin Sermonara, formerly known as Caitlin Chukagian, versus Maycee Barber. Barber came out strong and aggressive. There was a lot of clinching. Both of them were actively getting knees in during the clinch, but I think Barber was getting in a few more, and she was getting in some shoulder strikes to the face, things like that. Maycee had an incredible sprawl when Caitlin took a shot that wasn't the greatest in the world. Left her on the bottom of Barber. Looked like all of Maycee's torso weight landed right on Caitlin's head. Someone ought to come up with a name for that. Sprawl of death, sprawl from hell, super sprawl, sprawl with the ball, then bang, then bang, diggy, 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 said the boogie, said up, jump the boogie. Sorry, again, from Michigan. I am, not Maycee Barber. More clinch work in the second. Barber's throwing elbows. It was a pretty close fight. I had Barber winning all 3 rounds, but by a hair each time. Mostly because Sermonara, although punching a lot and connecting a lot, looked like she was playing a carnival game where you just got to tap the part that lights up or something, as if it was Olympic fencing and just poking each other was enough to get a point. Barber's shots came with some impact, so that was the difference that made it for me. But the judges seemed to agree. Maycee Barber, unanimous decision. So we move on to the featured prelim of the night. Heavyweights Curtis Blades against Jailton Almeida. Almeida is a clinch fiend. Once he gets his hands locked, he just doesn't unlock them. He was able to take Curtis down rather quickly. Curtis would get back up, given his back sometimes, but wasn't anything that Almeida seemed to jump on or know what to do with. He just kept on letting him get up and then would twist him back to the ground with the same hold about 9 times in the first round. Daniel Cormier was calling it mat return. I don't know if that's a wrestling term, but yeah, they seemed like something other than takedowns. Pretty much a yawner for the first round. Second round looked like it was going to go the same way, and then it just occurred to Blades to not put up with the shit. His face is wide open because he won't let go of the clinch, so start pounding his face. And he did. Brutal hammer fist after hammer fist after hammer fist that Jelton, for some reason, thought he was going to be okay to absorb. And it was either accumulation or one good one hitting a spot, and all of a sudden the arms released and he was curling up, turtling, and that was it. Blades knockout. People are giving a lot of disrespect to the guys we've seen around for a long time in the UFC. I've heard so much washed talk in the last week. The FBI is going to be investigating for money laundering. I think this may come into play later on, perhaps in the co-main. We shall see. By the way, nice call by Sherdog. He was the only analyst that we had that picked Blades. Going out on that limb isn't scary if you know which limbs to go out on, so congratulations. Time to start the main card pay-per-view portion of the show. We're kicking it off with Yan versus Yadong. Song Yadong came out swinging. He had a big hook right off the bat. He's really quick with his strikes. And he did something that I've never seen done quite to that extent, which is the fake shot, followed by a quick switch to a strike to catch the person defenseless if it works out right timing-wise. Luckily for him, he had Yan overbiting on his fakes because of his last fight with Merab. Song saw that and decided to take advantage, so he'd fake shoot and then swing a fast left hook. They spent a little time on the ground. Yan had a nice reversal attempt. Yan was too tentative through the beginning of the fight. Yan started to pick it up a little bit as the second went on, but Song kept on giving as good as he gets. And then the tide turned a little bit. Yan got off 3 uppercuts in a row. Pretty nice. This prompted Yadong to look for the takedowns, which Yan defended nicely. Then Piotr, whipped off 3 more uppercuts and then got a takedown of his own, and now he was in his zone. Song tried to get Yan to the floor, but was not having any luck. Yadong was wearing the damage on his face. It was a pretty small margin, but Yan edged him in strikes, hit him with a reverse spin kick, a reverse high kick to the head. Came down to a judge's unanimous decision, 29-28 for Yan. Solid win for him, get him back on the right track. He's another guy that's been around that isn't washed. Some of these guys just fight killers, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Doesn't necessarily mean you're washed. A lot of times it means you're a badass that just came up on the wrong side of things. I mean, look at Dust. Well, we'll wait on that. And there he is, President Trump sighting, coming in fashionably late for the main card alongside Dana White. And looks like he's got Congressman Jim Jordan from Ohio in tow as well there in the back. As usual, he gets a big crowd pop. I saw Ivanka and Jared Kushner and what I consume is their son were there already, so the Trumps like their MMA. Next up, welterweights Gilbert Burns and Jack Della Maddalena. Gilbert started out with some massive kicks. He had an early takedown as well. His punches were powerful when they landed, but mostly he was lunging to try to get at Jack Della Maddalena because of that jab. If he came in at all telegraphed, he got popped in the face for it. Jack Della Maddalena starts out with accuracy, landing punches, not 100%, not hitting for a home run, but a good 80% thumping every time he hits you, which adds up quick. Ask the Diaz brothers. It definitely looked like Gilbert was having to work much harder. Jack was kind of staying towards the center and just pivoting around as Gilbert had a lot of movement. And that was most definitely an illegal knee to a grounded opponent. Wait, what? We're not supposed to say illegal? All right, that was definitely a undocumented knee to a grounded opponent. Our angle with their camera shot isn't great. You can definitely see one knee is easily down still when the blow is received. So, oops. Again, I thought the most power and the most damage was done in the second by Burns. Good output, elbow to the face. Third round, it seemed like JDM was cracking. His corner wanted him to try to finish if at all possible. They weren't sure where they were on the scorecards, and I had him behind. JDM caught Burns coming up, this time legal with a knee, and Burns was done. He was on his back, getting pounded, and quickly stopped by the ref. TKO, Jack Della Maddalena, and welcome to the Performance of the Night Club for an extra $50,000. Oh my God, here we go again with where the fence meets the canvas. Gilbert Burns, the latest victim. Steps, his foot's right on that edge, starts to turn. He has to quickly pull up so it doesn't roll his ankle, and starts falling to the right, of course, because he's got no base to support that side. He reaches back with both his hands to grab the fence to right himself. How long are we going to watch this go on? It's ridiculous. Maybe a drinking game out of how many times I say ridiculous. But get a designated driver first. The featured bout of the night was between Michael Venom Page, making his UFC debut, and Kevin Holland. MVP is really awkward and was giving Holland fits. For as long as Holland is, MVP seemed even longer and was able to stay at range where Kevin really couldn't hit him. MVP looked awkward when he'd come in and throw the overhand right because he kind of lunged a bit too. But that way he was staying well out of range of Holland most of the time and then would come in for a strike or two and bounce back out, not leaving himself opened for attacks from Holland. But he's not one of those guys that stays at range and hardly activates. He was throwing spinning elbows, leaping elbows, body kicks, and more of those rights. Holland was getting some shots in the clinch, but mostly he was kind of chasing MVP around, trying to get at him. In the second, MVP landed a spinning high kick. Holland was landing strikes as well. MVP missed a kick and fell down, and Holland was all over him. It looked like he might even be able to get at a rear naked choke, but didn't happen. And MVP got in another spinning elbow just for good measure. Third round started with a little controversy. It looked like Kevin went to shake MVP's hand to start the third, and instead MVP punched him in the face. You could see Kevin looking like, what the hell, when he was down on the ground. Towards the very end, Holland knew he was going to lose, but was very frustrated at the style of MVP. Felt like he wasn't fighting, he was dancing and avoiding, but he got a lot of shots in, so you can't really blame him. But anyways, it was funny. Holland started mocking him. He danced around and then waved his hands like an idiot, trying to make Venom Page feel like a, well, idiot. Unanimous decision for Michael Venom Page. We'll see what happens with him. He's 36, so if he's going to do something, he's going to have to do it now. They'll probably set him up with a couple key fights and give him the pathway. But whether he can take it or not, we'll see. Kevin Holland's good, but we'll see. Maybe give him somebody with a different style and see if he can dispose of them as well. So, will be interesting. Good debut. It was nice to see them honor Joanna Young-Jaychuk, inductee into the Hall of Fame. I have no idea if that's how you say her name, but that's how I'm saying it. She was awesome. Just a tiny nothing full of violence. That fight with Zhang Wei Li was something I'll never forget. One of the best fights overall in UFC history, much less in the women's division. So hats off to her. Congratulations. Time for the co-main event between old man, washed up hot sauce maker Dustin the Diamond Poirier and unstoppable beast Benoit, God of War, Saint Denis. Sometimes people just don't follow the script. Poirier was throwing some nice shots right off the bat. BSD was just nonstop. Poirier ended up jumping a bunch of guillotines, or guillotines, excuse me, but couldn't finish one of them and put himself in a horrible position because every time that he fully committed to it and slipped off, he was on his back and being dominated. It was silly. His corner told him not to do it, but there was no stopping him. So, hey, who am I to say? Dustin had good defense, but Benoit Saint Denis was doing most of the controlling. Nice uppercut from Dustin. It was weird to see him do the low IQ move of keep on going for those guillotines, but he was better on the feet, and I felt like he was going to catch up with BSD on one of these shots, and he sure did. Who needs 5 rounds? Second round, knockout. And $50K for both gentlemen for being a part of the fight of the night. Last fight of the night was the main event. Sugar Sean O'Malley defend his title against Marlon Chito Vera. This is the second match between these two, although you wouldn't know it by listening to John Anik. Had a little brain fart there that was quite amusing. This was pretty much a masterclass by Sugar Sean. I thought at least Chito didn't look like he was taking the first couple rounds off. He wasn't producing the output that O'Malley was, but that was consistent throughout the whole fight. O'Malley ended up with 200 and some strikes to Chito's maybe 90 or something. The crowd was pumped for this one. Sean was slick as usual, doing his front kicks, spinning back kicks, just picking his spot for his punches. Very accurate, very fast. Chito was getting some strikes in there too. A couple times he seemed to put a surprise face on Sean. But unless Vera pulled some kind of rabbit out of his hat with a miracle shot, it was going to be O'Malley. He was the one with all the holy shit strikes. And that knee to the head was one of the most vicious sounding things I've seen in all the fights that I've watched over the years and years. That did not sound like flesh on flesh. That sounded like baseball bat on bone. I think it must have broke his orbital, but we'll have to see if any of the news comes out for that. It was instant swell, cut. His face just got more and more battered as the night went on. Sean didn't seem to be wearing it too much. Really great performance for him. Unanimous decision. Calls out Ilya Topuria. I hope to God not. Make him fight Merab first. This grab one belt and then immediately start looking at other divisions is ridiculous. It creates a logjam in the divisions because people are wanting to fight for the title and they can't because the guy's fighting in another division. If you want to go for another division because you think it's a challenge that you want to do, more power to you. You give up the belt for people that want to fight in this division. I don't really see why it's that hard. Dana created a monster with McGregor, and now everyone wants to copy that. Stop it in its tracks, please. But all things considered, I don't blame Sean for looking at that, but let's just slow him down a little bit, let him sit in the division for a second, and defend the belt a couple times here. Great night of fights, great card. It's got me primed and drooling for 300, so just a few weeks away on that. Hope you enjoyed the review here. Now let's get to the good stuff. Which one of our guys won the week? Who had the hot hand? Will we get any position changes? There's only one way to find out. Let's remind ourselves who they picked. right, there you have it. Who the guys picked. Now let's see what it does to them overall. As usual, we'll start with 5th place and work our way forward. First up, MMA experts. They had a winning record at 8-6, but tied for the worst record with that 8-6. Their overall record became 57-37, a 61% winning percentage. But the money tells the tale, and they dropped $166.21 from their previous total to a new total of minus $674.41. Next up, Angelo with We Want Picks in 4th place. He went 7 for 7 in the first 7 fights, starting out scorching. That included the first fight pick of the underdog Joanne Wood, worth a cool $190 on top of his $100 invested for a $290 return on that. He did also step out on a limb with Song Yadong and Marlon Chito Vera, both of which flopped, but can't win them all. We appreciate the boldness. So the 9-5 record for the week brings his overall record to 59-35, 63% win rate. He added a positive $94.15 to his previous overall money total for a new total of minus $410.68. We move on to Sherdog now. They've been holding down the middle for us for a few weeks. Like We Want Picks, he went 9-5. Of note, he was the only one that had faith in Curtis Razor Blades to get the job done. Unfortunately, he also went out on a limb for Gilbert Burns, who did not come through, lost to Jack Della Maddalena. So the overall weekly record of 9-5, moves his total record to 60-34, a 64% winning percentage. He added a positive $66.88 to his previous total for a new total of minus $267.18. MMA-Guru cooled off a little bit this week. Like MMA experts, he went 8-6. The 8-6 brought his overall record to 61-33, 65% winning percentage. But he was not on the right side of the money, losing $185 to bring his new total to a positive $50.23. Last but certainly not least is Brady over at DFS by the Numbers, our current front runner. Like Guru, nothing stands out specifically to speak of his picks, other than the fact that he keeps making more of the right ones and less of the wrong ones, just strengthening his lead at this point. He led the way by himself with a 10-4 record this week, moved him to a 62-32 record overall, a 66% winning percentage. He added $165 to his previous total for a new total of $438.96. He's pulling away, folks. Okay, we are not done yet. This is the first week of B.L.A.B.S version 2.1. We're going to see how we did. We're going to see what our overall totals are now. But I'm thinking I'm probably going to go from here on out just with the 2.1 total, since I've kind of honed down what we're looking at for the basic rules. So I want to see how that does over time. We can always refer back to the previous videos to get a new overall total if we want. And quite frankly, the next changes that come to mind might not be so much with the system, but with its input. If we're just being non-biasedly objective and we're trying to do whatever it is to fashion kind of an auto bet winning system, we're going to have to look coldly at every facet and maybe get to the point where we start purposefully overvaluing the front runner's advice and diminishing the advice of the bottom couple people. It depends on how everyone's doing. But whatever we can do to improve, we're going to do. I've already figured that by, the end of the year, starting the next year, that I might swap some people out or add some people, try to follow more. But really, when I did my searches, these were the guys in this kind of range that weren't, corporate entities and stuff, like ESPN or UFC, that were kind of doing what I need them to do with weekly picks and stuff. So I'll be happy to consider others that I find that have a decent enough following, have been doing it long enough to be, considered reliable to start, and then we put them through the paces and see how they do. What'd you say? Quit beating around the bush and tell us how you did. All right. It's still my channel. So we had half bets on Piotr Jan, who came through, winning us $41.67 return on our $50 bet. We had $50 on Gelson Almeida, and we now have not $50. $50 on Jack Della, and he came through. He was only worth $30.12 to us on the half bet, but we'll take it. Benoit Saint Denis, minus 100. Pedro Munoz, minus 100. But B.L.A.B.S has a good eye for the truly golden bets, as we put 2 units on MVP as a unanimous underdog pick, and the boys were right. Kevin Holland couldn't do anything to figure him out, and he cruised to a relatively easy debut victory. More importantly, he netted us positive $228 on top of the $100 that we bet, which made up for some of the other malarkey. So B.L.A.B.S 2.1 in its debut was 3-3, 50% winning percentage. See how I did that? Math was always my strong suit. Came out to a positive $49.79. So that's what I'll be going off of in the future weeks. Our total up till now, including the earlier versions, is a 26 and 21 record total, 55% winning percentage, and a positive $11.48. Not necessarily a headliner in the newspaper. But who gives a fuck about newspapers? All right. What a fun card. Like I said, it's got me more than excited for 300 coming up in a month or so. Hope you all enjoyed the recap and the update on the pick race. And I hope you're following along as we hone B.L.A.B.S into a finely sharpened razor weapon. We're eventually looking to get banned from every single casino because we've won so much money. So that's what we're looking at here, which we should have ironed out in a few more weeks. Thanks for watching, everybody. Really appreciate it. Hey, hit that like button on your way out if you don't mind. Just takes a second. Thank you very much. Till next time, everybody.